Oh, hello, guys and gals. Woohoo! This whole thing just keeps escalating. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking about this stuff for a fair bit. I know that we've just talked about the Facebook tech cartel, but now we got to talk about them Chinese tech cartels. And I talked about Tencent for a while, and honestly, anytime this TikTok stuff blows up or anything regarding this US-China, like, Cold War of tech, I always like to cover it because quite literally, as somebody that does things like virus investigations, and we cover things regarding computer security, it's very important to sort of stay up and up about it. Now, this situation, if you haven't been following, TikTok is already facing, a potential ban. At this point, they really have to get their shit together and be selling off assets to God knows who just to keep their operations running in the United States. Up at this point, Tencent's being looked at, specifically WeChat. If you don't know what the hell WeChat is basically Tencent's messenger service, primarily used by people of Chinese origin or just Chinese nationals themselves to communicate with family and friends back home. The basis it's getting banned is something that is actually kind of reminiscent to the video I made about Valorant. I made a video a long time ago, well, not too long ago, about Valorant and its anti-cheat system. I talked about the ownership of Riot Games and how they were 100% owned by Tencent, if I'm not mistaken. And I made a point where, look, even if it's not confirmed, and it probably won't happen, there may be a chance that Tencent, which is the owner of that company, could step in and request data. I just made that point. Tencent is a company that pretty much backdoors themselves to the Chinese government. So if you use something from Tencent, right, and your data is hitting their cloud servers, if your data ever goes to their servers in China, never, ever, ever assume that that data is 100% safe. If they want to dig your data specifically, they will. Now, in that video regarding Valorant, I said there's no reason for Tencent to be checking your data anyways. Most people are not important enough to have their data farmed for national security reasons. But there is a chance that it could potentially happen, right? Like there is that chance, right? And this is something that's been sort of looked at in this executive order. So we're going to read this real quick, just read out parts of it. Now, this is an executive order on addressing the threat posed by WeChat. Powerful, powerful terminology. I love it. I, Donald Trump, President of the U.S. of A., find that additional steps must be taken to deal with the national emergency with respect to the information and communications technology and services supply chain declared in executive order. So, we're using some pretty powerful words to discuss this. WeChat, a messaging, social media, and electronic payment application owned by Chinese company Tencent Holdings Limited, reportedly has over 1 billion users worldwide, including users in the United States. Like TikTok, WeChat captures vast swaths of information from its users. The data collection threatens to allow the Chinese Communist Party access to Americans' personal and proprietary information. In addition, the application captures the personal and proprietary information of Chinese nationals visiting the United States, thereby allowing the Chinese Communist Party a mechanism for keeping tabs on Chinese citizens who may be enjoying the benefits of a free society for the first time in their life. Oh, they finally get to breathe that sweet, sweet freedom. But oh no, those commies back home are keeping tabs on them. Again, nothing he said is outright wrong, but the terminology here definitely is invoking bias in a lot of individuals, which, again, nothing he said here is inherently wrong. Like, I see a lot of people who are, like, bringing this up like it's a bad thing. No, nothing he said here is inherently wrong. There are chances. There are chances people are getting tabs kept on them. Now, of course, there's sections and coverage on it, but just as a general summary, trying to subvert this could cause some issues. I don't know. It causes violations, but overall, it's specifically targeting WeChat. I see a lot of misinformation tossed over the internet with a bunch of people. I myself am a bit guilty of that, but I did correct myself. There were people who were tossing out, these doomsday scenarios where the video games were getting banned. Guys, our video games are getting banned. Now, let me tell you something. Tencent, if you don't know how big Tencent is, they are the biggest tech company on the fucking planet, okay? You think Google's big? You think Facebook's big? Pussies! compared to Tencent. Tencent has grown so fucking exponentially that they own stakes in almost every major video game company. If they're not a majority shareholder in the gaming company that you find in the United States, they're a fucking minority shareholder. They're a shareholder not just in gaming companies, but also in various tech companies across the United States. The whole reasoning for that is Tencent has a lot of goddamn money, okay? They don't just have a lot of money, they have a filthy amount of money. So anytime they come over here to invest in our companies or our side of the world, they overpay for all of their stakes. They bid the highest. You could be a company in the States that throws $30 million to buy a stake, and Tencent's coming over there like $30 million. What kind of fucking homeless shit is that? We're going to give you $300 million. And then guess what? The company over here is like, man, that's a little too rich for my blood. But guess what? Tencent? They have the money. They have the funds. They throw that shit around. They money hat like no tomorrow. And that's why they are slowly encroaching on the entertainment industry as a whole. But hey, if we're going to actually look at Tencent's holdings, video games are where they really put their money into, owning significant chunks, if not outright owning most major game studios. We're talking areas like Epic Games, we're talking areas like Riot Games, even Ubisoft, as far as I know, has some Tencent acquisitions. But even if they're expanding here, they've also expanded into movie studios, and even back home in China, they're outright purchasing automotive sectors, at least in the entertainment automotive sectors, like regarding like internet-related deals to automotive vehicles. They actually invested, what, $1 billion into a company called EasyCar, and they've also invested billions of dollars into other sectors totally unrelated, like even sporting goods. So their expansion isn't just here, it's back home and everywhere around in the world. And if you want to dig up Tencent even harder, they're owned partially by a South African conglomerate anyways too. This is really the definition of a multi-level, like we're talking a multinational organization on the biggest epic scale you could find. So that's kind of how Tencent pretty much operates, and to think otherwise, a bit foolish. Now Tencent, like I said at the beginning of this, is a company that backdoors to China anyway, so everything that was said in this executive order and these threats of national security have some validity that you can't outright deny. But then again, alright, ladies and gentlemen, with all these bans, I just want to say, national security is being liberally fucking used at this point, right? Like at this point, you know, don't get me wrong, I've made this point too, and I'm not going to fight against it. But when it comes to applications that are specifically targeted, in this case WeChat and TikTok, I always like to see some security analysis that proves that application is much more inherently worse than something like Facebook or Twitter or anything in the United States sphere. This actually kind of sets a pretty bad precedent. You know, at this point, like I said in my Facebook video, this is the first time an organization has finally stepped into the fray, right? From the outside world, from outside our dominion, and it has pretty much brought in the heat. And for the first time, the tech game is not solely a United States system anyways. It's an international system. What scares the shit out of me is if you're a foreign country trying to invest on our side of the waters, people are going to be a bit more hazy looking at how these executive orders are just laid out. Imagine being an Indian tech company and making something like TikTok that catches the world by storm. You release it internationally, but sometime in the future, your US branch is faced under severe scrutiny because people have deemed your application a national security threat. And then you have to scramble trying to get it operating. You see what I'm trying to give you? It's kind of like a weird dystopian fucking future. You know, China is the country that outright bans foreign investment into their country unless they comply 100%. It's why a lot of our tech companies don't go there. We just don't have enough freedoms to operate. It's just ethically wrong to operate in a country where you have to concede that fucking hard. But then to see the same thing roughly happen over here, you know, banning of applications to private citizens, kind of fucking wild. I think it's kind of against the freedoms that we have over here. Listen, I understand if you ban this shit on government cell phones. You have 100% right to ban this on government cell phones. I would have banned this on government cell phones. That shit's supposed to be secure. But as far as the average private citizen goes, shouldn't we have the fucking freedom to kind of just install whatever we want? Listen, data collection is going to happen regardless of how you want to look at it, okay? Whether you install Facebook Messenger or WeChat, guess what? that data is getting harvested either by a US company or a Chinese company. As far as the private citizen's concerned, they should have the right to pick between it, okay? Here's my example. I would never install an application from either of them, right? But I'm not gonna fucking chastise somebody for picking it. Like, look, tons of people use TikTok. I don't use TikTok because I don't trust the application myself. Again, my fear and my thought shouldn't be like pressed onto every single person out there unless there was a verifiable security issue that everyone unanimously agreed on. I really don't see the point of a fucking full-on ban. Again, I just feel like it's a retaliation to like years, if not over a decade, of China pretty much just giving the middle finger to everyone. And to an extent, they fucking definitely deserve that shit. Don't get me wrong. 100% they deserve that shit a little bit.
Now, what also makes me laugh about this ban entirely is that, yeah, sure, we got rid of WeChat, but just take a little glance onto your app stores real quickly and find applications by the name of QQ and Weibo that offer roughly the same functionality. So it was okay to outright ban WeChat, but you're conveniently missing that Tencent still has other applications that do the same exact thing, making this ban kind of pointless, I would say. Like, all it really did was actually plunge Tencent down in the stock index pretty high, which I guess if that's the goal you're going for, you know, quietly, you kind of did it. You kind of really hit them where it hurts, and that's their money. But hold on, there's another thing that I also wonder too. I want to wonder how this is actually even going to be enforced. Like, can you think about it for a second? Listen, I get if you have an iPhone, Apple will probably, like, unlist the application, prevent re-downloads, maybe even revoke it from an installed iPhone. But if you have an Android phone, could you just imagine for a second if the APK was released on the internet? Like, that's the application installation file for Android, and you could just grab it and install it onto your Android phone. And even if you needed a VPN to use it, the ability to bypass this ban seems fucking easy as hell. When you make executive orders like this, I don't think the infrastructure is made to properly ban the application. So to me, it just seems like a giant dick swinging contest and kind of like a very reactionary thing to do. I almost see this going into effect 45 days, because it's going into effect 45 days later, I believe, after this order is made. I almost see this just before that going to a fucking courthouse and being thrown out the window. Now, the whole misinformation people are tossing of this banning video games, just stop. Just stop for 1 second. This is not a video game ban, okay? If they were gonna fucking ban Tencent as a whole, do you want to know how bad that would be for every tech company out here right now? People that have let Tencent invest almost 100% into their company, that would be terrible. That wouldn't be able to fly. That would be knocked down the night it would be made. That would be a terrible thing to have done. And I don't think that would be constitutional if I'm mistaken. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the world we kind of live in. Right now, it's just WeChat, but I fear if this gets updated, the kind of chaos it could cause in the tech sphere. So far, it's not as bad as people want to make it out to be. So yeah, well, end of the story. If you use WeChat, you fucked. If you play Fortnite, you're good. Just enjoy it. If you play Valorant, you're good. You play Call of Duty, you're good. But the moment this gets updated, be a little weary, I would say. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the Tencent ban. Kind of weird how things are escalating, but shit, I don't know. Tomorrow we're going to cover some weird-ass creepy dolls. So that being said, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.